You dated Elias for 2 years. You ended it on a Tuesday evening in his apartment. He didn't fight it. He just nodded slowly and said, okay. That okay stayed with you longer than you expected. The relationship wasn't bad. That was the complicated part. He was kind. He was thoughtful. He was working on something he believed in and couldn't fully explain yet. But you were 27 and tired of potential and ready for something that had already arrived. You told Emma at the time that you needed someone more established. Emma said established or exciting. You said both. Emma gave you that look. You ignored the look. You left anyway. Sarah asked you if you were sure. You said yes. Sarah said, okay, but are you sure? You said yes again. Sarah made a small note in her planner and said nothing else. You didn't know what the note said. You still don't. Life moved forward. You dated other people. You changed jobs. You moved apartments. You thought about Elias occasionally the way you think about a song you used to love. Not with grief, just recognition. Then 3 years later, his name appeared on your phone. Not a text, a news notification. The headline said, Elias Ackhafer, 31, raises $200 million in Series B for AI infrastructure startup. You read it twice. Then you sat down. You had been standing. That felt like the right response. You called Emma immediately. She had already seen it. She didn't say I told you so. She said, how are you feeling? You said, I don't know yet. She said, that's fair. You sat on the phone together for a while just existing in the information. Sarah texted you a single message. It said, I found the note. You called her. She said she had written in her planner on the day you broke up with Elias, Maya may regret this one. You asked why she hadn't said anything. She said, because you were sure. You went back through your memory of Elias with different eyes. The late nights. The whiteboard in his apartment covered in diagrams you didn't understand. The way he talked about problems like they were puzzles he was personally responsible for solving. You had called it obsessive at the time. The article called it visionary. He reached out 8 days later. Not immediately, which you noticed. A message on a Tuesday evening. Simple. Hey Maya, saw we have a mutual connection now. Hope you're well. Would be good to catch up if you're open to it. No mention of the funding. No performance. Just Elias. Emma said go. Obviously go. She had 17 reasons and delivered them in under 4 minutes. Sarah said think about why you want to go before you agree to go. You thought about it for 2 days. You went. He chose a quiet restaurant, not an impressive one. He was already there when you arrived. He looked almost exactly the same. A little more settled in himself, maybe. He stood when you came in. He said you look the same. You said you look like someone who just raised $200 million. He laughed. It was still his laugh. The first 20 minutes were careful. Catching up in the way of people who used to know each other completely and are now being reintroduced. You asked about the company. He answered without performing. He asked about your work. He listened the way he always had, which was fully. Then he said something that caught you. He said, I thought about calling you when the funding came through. Then I thought about why I would be calling and I decided to wait. You asked what he meant. He said, I didn't want to be the person who calls when they have something to show for themselves. That landed differently than anything you expected to hear. You sat with it. You said, but you did call. He said 8 days later, after I decided it was because I actually missed you, not because I had news. You drove home that evening thinking about the distinction he had made. Between calling to show something and calling because he missed you. That distinction said something about who he still was, who he had always been. You hadn't fully understood it when you were together. Emma called for the full debrief. You told her everything. She listened without interrupting, which for Emma was extraordinary. When you finished, she said, do you still have feelings for him? You said, I don't know what I have. I have something. She said, that's already more than nothing. You saw him again 2 weeks later. His choice of location was a bookshop with a small cafe at the back. He had a coffee waiting. He remembered how you take it. That was 3 years of distance and he still remembered. You didn't say anything about it, but you noticed. He told you about the company without bragging, just explaining. The problem they were solving, why it mattered, what the last 3 years had actually felt like from the inside. Not the headline version, the actual version. The version that included the months he had almost given up. You asked him why he hadn't given up. He said, because I couldn't find a good enough reason to, and because I was angry enough at the problem to keep going. You recognize that in him. The specific kind of anger that looks like patience from the outside. He asked about you, really asked, not the polite version. He wanted to know what the last 3 years had actually been like. You told him more than you planned to. Something about sitting across from him made the edited version feel dishonest. He had always done that to you. You left the bookshop cafe 2 hours after you arrived. You stood on the street outside for a moment. He said, "Can I see you again?" Not "Can we do this again?" "Can I see you?" The specificity of that felt intentional. You said yes. Emma said you were clearly already gone. You said you were being careful. Emma said careful and gone are not mutually exclusive. You thought about that for most of the next day. She was probably right. The third time you saw him, he asked you something directly. He said, "When you ended things, was it because of me or because of where I was?" You had not been asked that question in 3 years. You had not asked it of yourself honestly. You took a long time to answer. You said it was where he was. He nodded. He said, "I know, I just needed to hear you say it." You asked why. He said, "Because if it was about me, this conversation would mean something different." You understood what he meant. The conversation meant what it meant. Emma wanted to know if you were getting back together. You said you didn't know. She said, "But do you want to?" You said wanting and knowing whether it's a good idea are different things. Emma said, "Maya, that is the most Sarah sentence you have ever said." You laughed. She was right. Sarah asked you a different question. She asked whether the version of him that existed now was who you had left or who you had missed. You looked at her. That was a real question. You thought about it for 3 days. The version of Elias sitting across from you in the bookshop cafe was not the same person you had left. He was quieter, more grounded, less hungry in the anxious way he had been. Something in him had resolved. You didn't know if it was the success or the years or both, but he was different, and so were you. You told him that you were both different people now. He said yes. Is that a problem or a reason? You asked what he meant. He said different can be a reason to start over or a reason to stay cautious. You get to decide which one. You asked him directly, did he want to start over? He said, "I want to know if it's possible. There's a difference." You asked what the difference was. He said, "Wanting it without knowing if it's real is just nostalgia. I don't want nostalgia. I want you if you're actually there." That was the most honest thing anyone had said to you in a long time. You sat with it across the table from him. You said, "I need more time." He said, "Okay." The same okay from 3 years ago. But this time, it didn't carry resignation. This time it sounded like patience. You talked to your mother that weekend. You hadn't told her about Elias yet. You told her everything. She listened. Then she said, "Do you remember what you said when you ended it?" You did. You had said you were ready for something that had already arrived. She said, "Well, now it has." Emma said you were overthinking it. Sarah said overthinking it was the responsible thing. You told them both about the "you if you're actually there" comment, and they went quiet at the same time. That was rare. You knew it had landed on them, the same way it had landed on you. You saw Elias 4 more times over the following month. No grand gestures, no performance of wealth or success. The same restaurant tabs split the same way they always had been, which you noticed and which told you something. He was not trying to impress you with what he had become. He was trying to see if you still wanted what he had always been. He told you one evening that the money had not changed the things he thought it would change. He said, "I thought I'd feel more certain about everything once the validation arrived. I don't. I feel more certain about the work." That's it. You looked at him. You said, "What do you feel uncertain about?" He looked at you. He didn't need to answer. You made your decision on a Sunday morning with no particular drama. You were at home. You made coffee. You thought about the distinction he had made on the first night about why he called. You thought about the okay from 3 years ago that had surprised you and the okay from 6 weeks ago that felt different. You thought about who you were when you were across from him. You liked who you were when you were across from him. You called him, he picked up on the second ring. You said, "I'm actually there." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I know, I could tell. You said, then why did you wait? He said, because I needed you to know it too. That was still so Elias. Infuriatingly so. You told him that. He laughed. It was still his laugh. Emma screamed when you told her. The full Emma scream. You held the phone away and counted to 5 this time. Sarah said, I knew. You said, you always say that. She said, I always mean it. You asked about the note in her planner. She said she had written a second note the day you told her you were having coffee with him. You asked what it said. She said, this one she won't regret. You thought about the version of yourself who had ended it 3 years ago. She wasn't wrong. She had needed what she needed and she had gone looking for it. She just hadn't known yet that some people are worth coming back to. That potential and arrival can belong to the same person, separated by time.